Tonight we have a closer look at a graphic and violent video war game that is sparking outrage even before it arrives in stores. Instead of featuring a make-believe battle, this game offers a vivid depiction of one of the fiercest battles of the Iraq War, the fight for the city of Fallujah.
Well, there's a lot of controversy over this new video game called 6 Days in Fallujah. Critics are calling the game, which is based on one of the deadliest battles in Iraq, too realistic.
Turning the bloody fight into a video game has ignited a firestorm of controversy.
When I heard about it, it was very upsetting.
Karen Meredith, whose son Ken was killed in Iraq, joined a chorus of military families in fervent opposition. They fear the game will trivialize the sacrifice of their loved ones.
Captain, are you actually saying, because I know you advised on this project, I know you advised on it because you want to make sure that the details are correct, but are you actually going to say that this is a way to honor the men who died that day?
One eternity later.
In a modern tale as old as time, adults are coming together to cancel entertainment they disapprove of. But whereas once the evangelical right or uptight politicians, artists and writers are now the ones on a Puritan crusade. Slated for release later this year, 6 Days in Fallujah is a video game that has always been steeped in controversy. First announced way back in 2009, the title was originally cancelled not long after due to an email and phone campaign resulting from negative PR from conservative news outlets and anti-war activist groups pressured then publisher Konami to end the project. Based on the 2004 Second Battle of Fallujah, which quickly became one of the deadliest modern moments in American war, the game was always going to have a rough and controversial road ahead of it, something only cemented by its original cancellation, which made it all the more surprising when it was revived nearly a decade later. But a lot has changed within that time, and where it was once artists, entertainment critics, and game journalists who defended the right for all types of experiences to exist, a new breed has infested various mediums, and now they are calling for it to be cancelled a second time. In a petition published over on change.org titled "Stop Highwire Games in Victoria from Normalizing the Mass Murder of Iraqis," a bold claim has been made that the game need not exist lest it creates a new generation of mass shooters. Or, at least, that's what it did say at the time I wrote the article for which this video is based. Because after it had been signed and shared throughout the industry, the creator of the petition went in and changed the wording. This, in my mind, opens up some ethical questions surrounding change.org, as a petition has been altered after a few thousand people had already signed it, but I'm not going to dwell on it here, just know that I think it's kind of fucky. Anyways, back to the task at hand. Normally this would be easy to write off and mock, as anyone and everyone can create a petition, and often they're signed by negligible nobodies. But in this particular instance, it is being shared throughout all levels of the gaming industry. It'd waste too much time to list off all the notable signees, but to give an example of how dire and widespread it is, of the names now publicly attached to the petition lies prominent voice actress Jennifer Hale, extra credit showrunner Matthew Kroll, Rainbow Six Siege's technical designer, game developer Jennifer Sherrill, associate level designer for Gunfire Games Colby Payne, Minecraft UI designer Vivian Otenzi, Respawn Entertainment designer Chad Armstrong, another Respawn Entertainment designer, IGN video editor Alan Torres, Gotham Knights lead game designer Osama Darius, the Avengers narrative designer, Ubisoft's narrative designer, Insomniac game animator Lindsay Thompson, and the gamer website writer Seth Palmer. a conglomerate of names that only barely scratches the surface of the many industry insiders who are now calling upon the government to censor art. It's also worth adding that all the names previously listed signed it before the wording was changed, hence they are supporting the notion that a video game can lead to real-world violence. Although those who are still signing it are supporting an unfounded notion that it'll breed a new generation of racists, as in its current form it explicitly states that the game will inevitably condition gamers into thinking racism is okay. I think it's here that fellow hobbyists and enthusiasts should be worried, not because I believe the government will actually step in to cease sales on 6 Days in Fallujah, it won't, but because this assault on free expression is only growing more widespread with each passing day. And it's not that such attacks are exactly new. I mean, people have been going after entertainment for as long as entertainment has existed. But often it was politicians, religious folks, uptight parents, lobbyist groups, and people of those sorts. But what we're seeing now is most startling because it's coming from the very camp which should be championing free expression above all else. I don't know how to put it any other way than to say that when the artists and writers within a society are petitioning governments to censor the art, then the culture is lost. Historically, it has always been the poets, the painters, the journalists, the filmmakers, and the creators of all types who have pushed boundaries and held tight to the notion that free expression is a good thing. Without books such as Tropic of Cancer, which helped the fight against the United States book banning obscenity laws, the road wouldn't have been paved for content that followed after. Art has always held the line against corrupt powers which seek to censor the populace as much as it can feasibly get away with. And that's not to say one should agree with all art and its many messages. Lord knows there's tons of it I think are awful. By all means, criticize that which you dislike. But any intelligent person should always agree that art, even the ones you disagree with, has a right to exist. Which is why it's so upsetting to now see the artists and the writers calling upon the government to step in and dictate what should and should not be allowed to be. To take this a few steps back and focus it once again within the world of gaming, at a corporate level this non-stop cycle of outrage will inevitably affect the titles that do get greenlit, as fewer and fewer companies will want to put up with the bad PR which occurs not only from the outside, but from within. Making this a truly disheartening state of affairs as one of the best things about entertainment, be it books, games, or film, is that it lets you experience a myriad of differing perspectives. Yet in today's climate, any perspective that doesn't cater to far, far left sensibilities is something to be taken out to pasture. We saw this just a month ago during the Harry Potter debacle, and a couple months before that with the Cyberpunk 2077 fiasco, and with each subsequent incident there has been a notable growth of escalation. Leading up to Cyberpunk 2077's release was a stream of hit pieces lambasting imaginary incidences of transphobia, something which took a more extreme turn after it finally released when gaming websites boldly claimed it would lead to real-world transgender murder, something, by the way, which was yet to happen. Then throughout the development process of the upcoming Harry Potter game, we saw a similar trajectory, only for it to become more extreme when the media spontaneously set out to destroy a man's life for literally no reason. And now there are calls for the government to step in and destroy yet another game the woke brigade dislikes, all under the false pretense that it'll lead to real-world harm. Having grown up in the 90s, I'm quite familiar with the tired rhetoric that violent entertainment creates negative real-world consequences. From the infamous Senate hearing surrounding video games in 1993, which argued that sex and violence in titles such as Night Trap and Mortal Kombat was harmful to children's health, to the hilariously misjudged comments from right-wing and now disbarred lawyer Jack Thompson, who claimed that Grand Theft Auto would push kids and teens to act out the game in real life. It would be an understatement to say that I've read and seen it all, but while the attacks never fully ceased to exist, it did dwindle down as the years passed, as more than enough studies have been done on the matter and the through line is clear. Entertainment by and large does not push people to act out horrible deeds. I'm not going to do a deep dive into the subject here, at least not yet, I may do a video later on, but down in the description for this video is a bunch of links citing studies which have explored this very topic that you can read for yourself. It's this well-studied fact of fictional violence's effect on the brain which makes current attacks on 6 Days in Fallujah all the more intellectually dishonest. Although perhaps it shouldn't surprise anyone as the message has been loud and clear for a good while. The cult of woke won't rest until the entertainment media caters only to them, and there are no tactics they won't resort to. Consider how during the release of Joker, a movie many journalists strongly opposed, they made the same claims, arguing that it would lead to mass shootings, something which once again has yet to happen. So as I said just a month ago, it's time to push back and push back hard. Art belongs to everybody, not just to sniveling babies who cry, bully, and lie their way to the top.